Deep in my soul, I've always carried this hollowness, the sense that I wasn't enough. My parents never explicitly stated it, but they didn't have to. I could see the disappointment shadowing their eyes at my birth. They had wanted a son, and I, Jessica, was not what they had hoped for. When my younger sister Sophia arrived 4 years later, that emptiness inside me solidified into certainty. I overheard Mom whispering to Dad one night, "Maybe our next child will be a boy." But there would never be another child. Complications during Sophia's delivery meant Mom couldn't conceive again. Their dream of having a son vanished, replaced by the expectation that someday their daughters might give them grandsons instead. I wasn't enough then. Will I ever be? The thought echoed through my childhood like a melancholy refrain. Growing up in our modest apartment in downtown Chicago, I watched Sophia master the art of getting whatever her heart desired. She'd simply bat those striking green eyes of hers, and our parents would crumble like sandcastles against the tide. I, meanwhile, grew fiercely independent. If their love comes with conditions, then I'll learn to live without it. I taught myself to depend on no one, knowing that their attention belonged primarily to Sophia. We weren't deprived materially. We had adequate clothing, nutritious food, a secure home, and quality education. But emotional warmth felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. Eventually, I stopped seeking it. I constructed my emotional fortress and accustomed myself to standing alone. During my final year of high school, I gathered my courage and announced over dinner, "I'm planning to major in computer science." My parents exchanged that familiar look, the one that made my stomach twist with anticipated disappointment. "Are you certain, sweetheart?" Mom asked, her fork suspended in midair. "That's such a technical field." Dad nodded in agreement. "What about education or nursing? Something more appropriate for a young woman." I stood my ground, my voice steadier than my heart. "I've already been accepted to Metropolitan University. I even secured a partial scholarship." Mom sighed, that familiar note of disappointment vibrating through the air. "Well, it's your decision," she said, her tone making it clear she thought it was the wrong one. Across the table, Sophia smirked triumphantly. "I'm thinking about studying communications," she announced. Mom and Dad immediately brightened like twin suns. "That's wonderful, darling." Mom beamed. "You've always had such a natural way with people." I pushed my vegetables around my plate, letting their voices wash over me like white noise. Why do I still care about their approval? Why does it still hurt? Years ago, I'd realized that chasing their validation was futile. Instead, I focused on my future, and the freedom university would bring freedom from constantly being the lesser daughter. Maybe I'll finally be enough for someone else, even if I couldn't be for them. I met Nathan during my 3rd year at Metropolitan. He was a senior in the computer science department, and we literally collided with each other in the university library. I dropped my algorithms textbook, and he retrieved it. That simple moment sparked everything. "You're in Professor Wilson's data structures class, right?" he asked, returning my book. "I've noticed you asking all the intelligent questions." I blushed, unaccustomed to being noticed for something positive. "Yeah, that's me, the one who makes class run long with endless questions." "Not annoying at all," he smiled warmly. "Actually, I was wondering if you'd like to grab coffee sometime. I could tell you about the advanced courses you'll take next year." That coffee evolved into dinner, then movie nights, and soon we became inseparable. For the first time in my life, someone truly saw me. Nathan didn't measure me against anyone else. He appreciated me exactly as I was. When he graduated, Nathan secured a position at Horizon Technologies while I remained to complete my degree. He waited for me, and after my graduation, we decided to move in together. We found a small apartment in the city, nothing fancy, but it was ours, our sanctuary. "Mom, Dad, this is Nathan," I said during his first visit to my parents' house. Their reaction was instantaneous and revealing. "Oh, Nathan," Mom practically squealed. We're so happy to finally meet you. Will you be joining us for Thanksgiving? Christmas? Dad clapped him on the shoulder. Son, we've heard so much about you. Tell me about your career. Jessica says you're in tech. The word son caught my attention. Of course they're thrilled. They're finally getting the son they've always craved, even if it's through marriage. The realization was bitter as unripe fruit. I watched as they showered Nathan with attention, asking about his career and future plans, and when he might want to settle down. Meanwhile, Sophia sat in the corner, shooting daggers at us. She was still living at home after college, currently single, and visibly disturbed that for once, I possessed something she didn't. The reversal clearly unsettled her. For once, I have something she covets. For once, I'm not the one coming in second. A year after moving in together, during a quiet candlelit dinner at home, Nathan knelt before me and proposed. I accepted immediately, joy flooding through me. We decided on a small, intimate wedding despite my parents pressuring for something grander. It's your special day, Mom argued. Don't you want something more elaborate? This is special, I insisted, and for once, I didn't care if it contradicted her wishes. It was what I wanted, what we wanted. The ceremony was perfect, just close friends and family in a quaint garden. Nathan and I exchanged vows, enjoyed a simple dinner reception, and returned to our apartment as husband and wife. It felt right to begin our married life in the same space where we had already built so much together. Finally, I belong somewhere. With someone who chooses me first. The inquiries began almost as soon as we returned from our honeymoon. So when can we expect some good news? Mom would ask, her eyes gleaming with anticipation, hoping for a grandson. We're saving for a house first, I explained repeatedly. We want to be financially secure before starting a family. Dad would shake his head disapprovingly. Your mother and I had very little when we began, and we managed just fine. Every family dinner transformed into an update on their friends' expanding families. Did you hear the Johnsons just became grandparents again? Another boy, or the Brown's daughter, announced she's pregnant, and she's younger than you, Jessica. After 3 years of careful saving, Nathan and I finally purchased our first home. It wasn't extravagant, but it was ours, or at least ours and the bank's. The moment we signed the mortgage documents, I knew the baby questions would only intensify. And they did. What I hadn't anticipated was Sophia's announcement just 5 months later. I'm pregnant, she declared during our Thursday dinner, her hand resting on her still flat stomach. It's Michael's. Michael, her boyfriend of 7 months, was someone none of us particularly liked. The subsequent months were chaotic. Michael vanished as soon as Sophia began showing, leaving her to move back in with our parents. But instead of treating the situation as scandalous, my parents transformed their home into a shrine for their future grandchild. When little Olivia was born, you'd think royalty had arrived. My parents converted Sophia's old bedroom into a nursery, purchased every baby item imaginable, and essentially rearranged their entire lives to help raise her. Isn't she perfect? Mom would coo, rocking Olivia during our visits. Don't you just want one of your own, Jessica? What hurt more than my parents' constant pressure was watching Nathan with Olivia. He'd get down on the floor to play with her, make funny faces, and spend hours entertaining her with stuffed animals and children's books. Nathan is such a natural with children, Mom would comment pointedly. He's going to make such a wonderful father. I started meticulously tracking my cycle, taking prenatal vitamins, and following every recommendation from pregnancy websites. Month after month we tried, and month after month nothing. Meanwhile, Nathan spent increasingly more time at my parents' house, playing with Olivia. She's such a delightful child, he'd say on our drives home. Did you see her trying to walk? She almost said, Uncle, today. You're so amazing with her, my mom would gush. Just imagine how incredible you'll be with your own children. I'd smile and nod, but inside, anxiety was taking root. Why am I not pregnant yet? What if something's wrong? What if I can't give Nathan what he deserves? I told myself to be patient, that it would happen when the time was right. After a year of trying unsuccessfully, I was still trying to remain hopeful. These things take time, I assured myself. But when Mom discovered we'd been trying for a year, she panicked. A whole year, Jessica? Something's wrong. You need to see a specialist immediately, she insisted. Before I'd even left their house that day, she was already sending me contact information for fertility specialists. To pacify her, I made an appointment. Nathan accompanied me, holding my hand in the examination room while the doctor asked questions and conducted tests, blood work, ultrasounds, and more. Then came the day of the results. The doctor looked at me with gentle compassion. "I'm sorry," she said, "but the tests indicate that you're infertile." Her words felt like a physical blow. Nathan squeezed my hand, but I could barely feel it. The doctor continued talking about options IVF, adoption, but her voice sounded distant, as if coming from underwater. That night, Nathan and I sat at our kitchen table, picking at our takeout meal. "We can explore adoption or IVF," he said softly. "There are options." I nodded, but I felt hollow inside. How can I tell my family? How will they react? I decided to remove the bandage quickly at our next family dinner. "Mom, Dad," I said during a quiet moment, "I need to tell you something. I saw a specialist." I took a deep breath. "I can't have children. I'm infertile." The silence that followed was excruciating. Mom's face contorted with disgust. Infertile, she practically spat the word. What kind of woman can't even fulfill her most basic purpose? Dad wouldn't even look at me. "An empty vessel," he muttered. "Just a useless flower." Sophia sat there smirking, bouncing Olivia on her knee. "Well, I guess we know who the real woman in the family is." I looked at Nathan, desperate for support, but he just stared at his plate, saying nothing. The tears came then, hot and uncontrollable. I pushed away from the table and fled the house, ignoring their voices calling after me. I knew it. I've never been enough. And now I never will be. After that night, I couldn't bring myself to return there. But Nathan kept going. He spent time with Olivia, chatted with Sophia, and listened to my parents. He'd come home full of stories. "Olivia learned a new song today," he'd say. "You should have seen her dancing around the living room." Or, "Sophia made this amazing pasta. She's really becoming quite the cook." Each word felt like a knife to my heart. At night, I'd lie awake beside him, listening to his steady breathing, wondering if he resented me for not being able to give him children. The guilt consumed me, and it only worsened when he came home with that wistful look in his eyes after playing with Olivia. Then came the day everything collapsed. It was an ordinary Saturday, and I returned early from work, arms laden with Chinese takeout, Nathan's favorite. But the house was dark and empty. His car wasn't in the driveway, which wasn't unusual, but something felt wrong. I called his phone. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. Then my phone buzzed with a notification. Sophia Wilson posted a new photo. I typically ignored her posts, but something compelled me to look this time. My stomach dropped as the image loaded. Nathan sitting on my parents' couch, Olivia in his lap, and Sophia pressed against his side. All three were grinning at the camera. The caption read, "Family time with my favorite people." My hands trembled as I grabbed my car keys. The rational part of my mind tried to suggest there could be an innocent explanation, but deep down, I knew better. During the entire drive to my parents' house, my mind replayed every interaction between Nathan and Sophia over the past year, each one twisting into something sinister. The driveway was full: Mom's SUV, Dad's truck, and Nathan's sedan. The front door was unlocked as always. I slipped inside quietly, my heart hammering so forcefully it felt like it might shatter my ribs. Voices drifted from the living room. "Nathan, you know we already consider you a son," my mom was saying. And you deserve happiness. You've been amazing with Olivia, Dad added. And Sophia, well, she's young, fertile. You could have more children together. Why remain trapped in a marriage with Mom's voice dropped, but I still heard the revulsion in it, a barren woman. I couldn't breathe. This can't be happening. I burst into the room, making them all jump. The scene was like a nightmare. My parents and Sophia sitting on one couch, Nathan in Dad's armchair, and Olivia playing on the floor between them. They looked like one perfect, complete family planning to erase me. What the hell is happening here? I demanded, my voice stronger than I expected. Nathan looked ashamed, at least. But my parents? They didn't even attempt to hide it. Jessica, Mom said, rising with her chin elevated. We're just having an honest discussion about what's best for everyone. Best for everyone? I echoed, my voice quavering. You're trying to persuade my husband to leave me for my sister. Well, someone has to consider his future, Dad said sharply. You can't provide what he wants, what he deserves. Sophia can. I turned to Nathan, waiting for him to defend me, to stand up for our marriage, to tell them they were wrong. But he just stared at the floor. Nathan, I whispered, my voice breaking. I'm sorry, Jessica, he said quietly, not meeting my eyes. But they're right. I want children, a family, and I've developed feelings for Sophia. Sophia smirked, reaching out to place her hand on Nathan's arm. You don't belong here anymore, she said smugly. This is my family now. I surveyed the room, Dad's stern disapproval, Mom's cold satisfaction, Sophia's triumphant smile, and Nathan's guilty expression. Years of marriage and a lifetime of family ties meant nothing to them. I was never enough for any of them. And I never will be. Without another word, I turned and walked out. I drove home in a daze, packed a suitcase without thinking, and left a note for Nathan, file for divorce. My attorney will contact yours. The divorce was swift and impersonal. We divided everything equally. I relocated to a small apartment across town and immersed myself in work, trying to forget. But social media wouldn't allow it. One morning during a coffee break, a coworker gasped at her phone. Oh my God, Jessica, I'm so sorry. I forgot to unfollow your sister. She tried to conceal her screen, but I'd already glimpsed it. Sophia in an elaborate white wedding gown, Nathan in a tuxedo, and my parents beaming proudly beside them. It's fine, I said, even though it wasn't. I hope they find happiness. 2 years later, another post surfaced. Welcome, baby Emily. My replacement had given them the daughter they'd always desired. Nathan now had his perfect family, Olivia, whom he'd adopted, and his new baby with Sophia. That day, I deleted all my social media accounts. I don't need constant reminders of how I wasn't enough. But life has a peculiar way of surprising you. One Sunday, I was shopping for groceries when my cart accidentally collided with someone else's. I'm terribly sorry, a deep voice apologized. I looked up and met the warmest hazel eyes I'd ever seen. I'm Daniel, he said, helping me gather my scattered groceries. Can I buy you coffee to make up for my clumsiness? One coffee evolved into dinner, then dating, and before I realized it, I was falling in love again. This time, I vowed to be honest from the start. I need to tell you something, I said one evening, 7 months into our relationship. I can't have children. I'm infertile. Daniel took my hands in his and gazed into my eyes. Jessica, I love you, he said with such sincerity it made my heart ache. If we want children someday, we'll adopt or we won't. It doesn't matter. I just want you. He wants me. Just me. As I am. No conditions. We married in a simple courthouse ceremony, just us and a few close friends. No family drama, no elaborate dress, no excessive expectations. Just love. A year into our marriage, I started feeling strange, nauseated in the mornings, dizzy at random moments. Daniel insisted I see a doctor. "Mrs. Carter," the doctor said, examining my test results. "Congratulations. You're pregnant." I stared at her, stunned. "That's impossible. I'm infertile. I have tests confirming it." She smiled gently. "The human body is mysterious. Sometimes, against all odds, pregnancy occurs even in cases of diagnosed infertility. It's uncommon, but it happens." That night, Daniel and I wept together, tears of joy, disbelief, and hope. I didn't inform my family. They had forfeited the right to share in my happiness. 10 months later, I held my son in my arms, a perfect, beautiful baby boy weighing 9 pounds, 7 ounces. Daniel and I named him Ethan, meaning strong, enduring. As I gazed at his tiny face, I felt nothing but pure love. No bitterness, no anger, no regrets. Perhaps I was always enough. Just not for them. Life settled into a peaceful, joyful rhythm. Ethan thrived, and Daniel was the most loving father. I had everything I'd ever dreamed of. We rarely went out, preferring quiet family dinners at home, but one night we decided to celebrate Daniel's promotion at an upscale Italian restaurant downtown. That's when I saw them. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but no, it was Sophia, my sister, locked in an intimate embrace with a man who was definitely not Nathan. They were nestled in a corner booth, but not well enough concealed. She was running her fingers through his hair, kissing him deeply, completely oblivious to the world around them. My hand shook as I discreetly took several photos with my phone. The lighting was dim, but the images were clear enough. There was no mistaking what was happening. "Jessica?" Daniel touched my arm. "Are you okay? You've gone pale." I showed him the photos. "That's Sophia," I said, my voice low. "With someone who isn't her husband." Daniel's jaw tightened. He knew everything what Sophia and Nathan had done to me. "Are you going to send those to him?" he asked. My finger hovered over the send button. It would be so easy. One click and I could devastate their perfect little family, just as they had devastated mine. But after a moment, I shook my head and saved the photos to a secure folder. "No," I said quietly. "I'm better than them. I don't need revenge. I've already won by finding true happiness." A year passed. Ethan grew into a bright, beautiful boy with Daniel's kind eyes and my stubborn chin. We were visiting a friend in my old neighborhood, something I rarely did. Since the weather was pleasant, we decided to walk to a nearby park. That's when it happened. Just our luck, as we rounded the corner near the supermarket, there they were. Mom, Dad, Sophia, and Nathan, loading groceries into their car. We spotted them at the same moment they noticed us. Their initial reaction was to turn away, noses elevated, pretending we were strangers. But then their eyes fell on Ethan, who was holding my hand and happily chattering about the toy truck he'd brought to play with at the park. Mom froze. Who is this?" she asked, her voice trembling. I could have ignored them. I probably should have. But something compelled me to stop. "This is my son, Ethan," I said, my voice calm and steady. Sophia let out a harsh laugh. "Oh, please. We all know you can't have children. Which adoption agency did you use?" I looked directly into her eyes, savoring the moment. "I gave birth to him 4 years ago. No adoption agency involved." "That's impossible," Mom stammered. "The doctors were wrong," I said, cutting her off. "It happens sometimes. Rare, but it happens. And here's the proof." I gestured to Ethan, who was watching the strangers curiously. Dad's eyes widened. "A grandson. We have a grandson," he said, stepping forward. Mom followed, her arms outstretched as if she had every right to embrace my child. I stepped in front of Ethan, blocking their path. "No," I said firmly. "You don't get to do this. You don't get to discard me like garbage and then claim my son as your grandson. You lost that privilege when you betrayed me." Sophia's face turned an ugly shade of red as she witnessed our parents' attention shift to Ethan. She had always been their favorite after they cast me aside, and now she couldn't bear it. "Oh, get over yourself, Jessica," she spat. "So you managed to produce one child. Big deal. I still won in the end. I got your husband. I gave him a real family, 3 beautiful daughters. Face it, I'm still superior to you." My hand was on my phone before she even finished her tirade. "Speaking of family, Sophia," I said calmly, "why don't you tell everyone about your extracurricular activities?" "What are you talking about?" Nathan asked, his eyes narrowing. I pulled up the photos from the restaurant and displayed my phone. "Here's your devoted wife," I said, "having dinner with someone else." Though dinner might not be the appropriate term for what was really occurring. "I have to say, Sophia," I added evenly, "most people don't kiss their dinner companions that way." The color drained from Sophia's face as Nathan seized the phone from my hand. Mom and Dad crowded around to look, their mouths falling open in shock. "Who is he?" Nathan demanded, his voice quaking with fury. Sophia stammered, He's just a friend from work." "Friends don't kiss like that," I replied coolly. "And they certainly don't meet in dark corners of expensive restaurants while their spouses are at home with the children." "Sophia, how could you?" Mom gasped. "After everything." "Everything?" I laughed bitterly. "After you helped her steal my husband? After you discarded me because you thought I couldn't have children? Karma is a fascinating thing, isn't it?" Nathan and Sophia were shouting at each other by then, their voices reverberating through the parking lot. I turned to Ethan, who was still holding my hand, blissfully unaware of the chaos surrounding him. "Come on, sweetheart," I said gently. "Let's go to the park." We walked away, leaving them to their disaster. Ethan happily chattered about the slides and swings, completely oblivious to the storm we'd just left behind. I'm enough. I've always been enough. Just not for them. 2 months later, I heard the rest of the story through neighborhood gossip. After discovering Sophia's affair, Nathan had himself tested. The results revealed he was infertile and had been all along, which meant baby Emily couldn't possibly be his. Furious, he left Sophia immediately and refused to provide support for either Emily or Olivia. Sophia ended up moving back in with our parents, her perfect life in shambles. Then the calls began, emails, even unexpected visits to my house. "Please, Jessica," Mom begged through the door one day. "We made a terrible mistake. Let us be part of Ethan's life. He's our only grandson." "You should have considered that," I replied calmly, "before you called me an empty vessel. Actions have consequences." Daniel stood by my side through it all. "Family isn't defined by DNA," he said one night as we watched Ethan building with his blocks. "It's about love, respect, and loyalty. They didn't demonstrate any of those to you." He was right, of course. Looking at my little family, my wonderful husband who loved me for who I am, my miracle son who proved the doctors wrong, and our home filled with laughter, I knew I had everything I needed. Sometimes the family you're born into isn't the one you're meant to have. Sometimes you have to build your own, with people who choose you in return. I chose Daniel, and he chose me. We chose Ethan, and he chose us back with his first smile, his first word, his first steps. That's what genuine family means. And I wouldn't have it any other way.